picking up my pen.
We got Andrew Hawkins in the house tonight. What's up, what's up? And Maurice Jones-Drew here, yes, for this lovely Monday Night Football affair to put a button here on week 4. You guys want to get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do the action? I would love to do that. Let's do it here. So, we have the Steelers and the Bengals
Highlights.
here in Pittsburgh. There's Mason Rudolph, his first career home start because Ben Roethlisberger sidelined there for the season. First quarter, no score. Mason Rudolph hits Deontay Johnson for the short game, but he's hit by Nick Vigil, and fumbles. So that's recovered by Jesse Bates. That's not how you want to start the game.
You got to protect the church's money.
Yeah. Next Steelers possession, Mike Tomlin going for it on 4th and 1, and James Conner, he's stuffed for no gain at all there. So the Steelers, they turn it over on early downs. The offense cannot find a rhythm at all right here. So we go to the second quarter. Steelers down 3-0, and Mason Rudolph, he rolls right and hits James Conner there for the 21-yard touchdown. So the Steelers, they get the lead, 7-3. And I don't want to spoil anything here, but they continue to have the lead for the entire game here.
Spoiler alert.
I know. There's another look there. Rudolph only averaged 1.4 air yards per attempt in the first half.
Yeah.
Not great. So the next Bengals possession there, 1st and 10 at the Steelers 18, and Bud Dupree comes off the edge, forces Andy Dalton to fumble. That's recovered right there by TJ Watt. Okay, so the Steelers ball on their own 29.
Can I give a spoiler alert?
Yeah.
You're going to see more of this throughout the course of
Yes,
the highlights.
that's all right. Bud Dupree. Andy Dalton.
Say, darn it.
So, they take it down to the Bengals, too. There's another look at it there.
First of all, you have to love your defensive lineman running downfield, trying to make a play. But James Conner using the balance, stepping on cats to get in.
Next play, still in the Wildcat, and Samuels keeps it for himself, runs it in for the 2-yard touchdown. Steelers up now, 17-3. There's another look. Defense goes with Conner there in motion, and Samuels, well, he goes in basically untouched.
That's why you run Wildcat, because you got to account for the quarterback.
Next Steelers possession there, Mason Rudolph finally lets it go there. Wide open, Deontay Johnson.
Redemption!
43-yard touchdown.
In my neighborhood, the one I live in now, they call that wide open. In the other neighborhood, they call it something else. We're not gonna say that.
So the Steelers win the game by a lot, 27-3. You see the numbers. It was not a good night to be Andy Dalton here. I mean, he had no shot basically for the entire game. He just was taken down play after play, sacked a career high 8 times in this matchup. Joe Mixon, he did get loose a couple times, but it was just not nearly enough. This game was all about the running backs for the Steelers. It was all about James Conner. It was all about Jalen Samuels. And Mason Rudolph actually played a pretty clean game here.
Well, no, he did a great job of checking the ball down. So many times we have these young quarterbacks, we expect them to go out there and be Patrick Mahomes and throwing the ball deep and doing all these different things. Sometimes just check the ball down a little bit and then let the game come to you. Then you'll get your young receiver from Toledo, right?
Yes, sir.
Running wide open.
The University of Toledo.
There you go. And so, again, sometimes it's not about trying to force the game. Let the game come to you. And I thought he did a great job with that. And I thought the offensive coordinator did a phenomenal job. You mixing in some wildcat here and there just to keep him comfortable and keeping the defense off balance.
Well, you know what worked really well for Pittsburgh in this game? The defense.
No question.
And so, yes, if your defense plays like that, yeah, you can do that through the course of a game, through the course of a season or a string of games. But if you don't push that ball vertically downfield, that's what they're saying about the Saints, right? They're saying Teddy Bridgewater doesn't throw it downfield. And so eventually teams are going to say, hey, we know what they're going to do. They're going to try to play good defense. They're going to try to run the football. And so I just want to see, Mason Rudolph seems to understand this offense. And so I want to see him take some shots downfield because he does have some guys that can make plays. I know Juju got a little banged up at certain points.
Only 4 targets for him. Only 3 catches. And Hawk, I do want to get to you in a second, but we do have, speaking of the defense on Pittsburgh's side of things, our Tom Pelissero had a chance to catch up with Cam Hayward. So let's take a listen to that.
Cam, you guys needed a win to get this thing rolling. To do it here against the division foe in pretty dominating fashion, what can that do for this team?
Man, hopefully it jumpstarts us. We got AFC North football next week, but we took care of business this week.
You had 9 first-round picks on that defense. You hadn't played like it to this point. To pressure Andy Dalton like that, how do you keep that going?
Just keep communicating and just keep working. We're all just learning each other and just keep growing. We know it's early out in the season, but we just got to continue to keep getting better.
Too early to look at the standings, but all of a sudden you're a game out of first place in the division. What do you have to do next week against the Ravens to keep this thing going in the right direction?
Not worry about our standings. Understand that if we take care of business, we don't have to look around. We know we haven't played well in September, but let's just keep building on this one.
Congrats, Cam. Thanks.
Thank you.
A dominant performance there by the Steelers defense. So, Hawk, when you're watching this game tonight, what stood out to you?
I mean, the biggest thing was the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals. Not giving Andy Dalton literally any time. I mean, I came into the game wondering why this team didn't run the football more. Because in the NFL, for as much as they were throwing it, I think coming in it was 72% passing. Like, it's hard for that to be sustainable. It's hard to win games down the stretch. And then watching the offensive line play today, I start to question, man, they might not even have the ability to run the football because they couldn't protect Andy. I mean, they were clearly outmatched against the Steelers defense that honestly has had a lot of question marks on their side of the ball. So they never really had a chance, and there wasn't a game that Zach Taylor was going to be able to call if the offensive line couldn't protect.
And they've been missing their tackles, too. Cordy Glenn, he's out with a concussion, so that played a huge role in all of this.
Yeah, but you still have to try to run the ball. And the only reason is not to try to get the yards. It's just to let that defensive line know we're coming at you. Right. Yeah. Because if you're just retreating as offensive linemen, as a former defensive guy, we love that. And my pass rushers up front, they love it when they can turn you into a one-dimensional team. Yep. And they didn't even have to turn this team into a one-dimensional team. They just came out, like Hawk said, throwing the ball too much.
Well, the biggest issue with the Cincinnati Bengals since this summer, when I was in Dayton at their camp with James Palmer, and it was not Tom Pelissero, by the way.
Right, I know. Hey, come on.
Shout out.
We're going to forget about that.
Yeah, we'll forget about that. But it's the offensive line. You have all these weapons and all this stuff going on, but your offensive line's been banged up. A guy retires on you. You're trying to fix it and figure out who's going to be who. How do you expect to score points if you don't have an offensive line? I think you've seen that throughout the whole league, that offensive line play is the most important thing for offenses right now, especially with, the first start the season off. You want to start fast. You have to have a great offensive line. And so sometimes when you don't have that, all of a sudden Andy Dalton's out here trying to drop back. You're doing play action passes, and guys are coming scot-free on the first sack from Devin Bush. Like, guys are not communicating.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
I was on a Bengals team with A.J. Green, Mo Sanu, Marvin Jones, and they still couldn't just let Andy sit in the pocket and just throw the ball around. Another reason why you want to run the football is because your best player right now with A.J. Green out is Joe Mixon.
Yes, sir.
Get him involved. Even if you're passing it, make him a part of your passing game because honestly, as you know, it's not the X's and O's, the Jimmys and the Joes.
No, it's always about the guys across the line.
That's
yes,
it.
it is.
Yeah. And on the other side of things with the Steelers now, they finally get a win. They're 1-3. And it was really interesting, I thought, with their offense watching the fact that they used the Wildcat so many times. 7 plays with the Wildcat, and they gained 46 yards from it. So it just kept working. They kept going back to it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to do that. Again, you don't have the killer bees anymore. You don't have Roethlisberger, Big Ben. You don't have AB or Lev Bell. So you have to kind of manufacture some plays to get some of these guys in space and having Jalen Samuels, who can run the quarterback and do all those things, is athletic enough to do it. It opens up a little bit more. It gives the defense something they have to think about. So now when I'm playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, guess what? We got to have a Wildcat period in practice.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden I got to study a little bit more.
You got to make sure everybody's in their right run gap.
Exactly. And if you're not, it's going to get them out the gate. And then you also had the little fly sweep action they were doing. They were just finding ways to get Rudolph comfortable and getting the ball to their playmakers where they had a chance to be in space. And then again, like this offense, they just found ways continue to make a guy miss. Make one guy miss when you get the ball in your hand. Make 2 guys miss when you get the ball in your hands. And then you're all of a sudden, instead of being in 2nd and 8, you're in 2nd and 2.
You can tell it was a great game plan coming in. The Bengals have trouble tackling on the perimeter, right? That's why they're running the jet sweeps, and they're going down as pass plays and not rushes, but really they're just extensions of the run game, especially for Mason Rudolph, especially for Samuel and James Conner. They're just small dumps, let those guys get in space and make those DBs tackle, and the Bengals did not do it very well tonight.
Yeah, and it felt like the Steelers' O-line got better as the game went on, right? Because this was a question mark. The Steelers' O-line, they hadn't been playing that great. You see Pouncey, the leader of that offensive line. Those guys communicated well. They picked up blitzes, and they protected the quarterback. Like you said, he had a good day. He checked the ball down a lot, but I don't mind that as long as you don't turn the ball over and your defense plays great. And that's what happened.
He played a clean game,
Yes.
and that's all you can ask just for him to manage the game. And right now, we actually have his head coach at the podium, Mike Tomlin.
Okay,
So let's
Mike
listen
T.
in.